Hello to the viewers of our channel. So, I got around to finish a video about Sony TVs in 2022. As always, we will go from more premium TVs to budget segment of TVs, upon completion of which I will voice my opinion on what happened this year and in general, and we will conclude. But before that, be kind to subscribe, to give it a thumbs up, and to share it with someone you care about. Therefore, we will move on to the review itself. I will say in advance that I will not read out loud connectors, ports, video and gaming features because after this video I will attach a spreadsheet with characteristics as usual. And our first flagship model is an 8K TV called Sony Z9K. It is made in 7585 diagonal, VA 120Hz matrix, 10-bit glossy display coating, display resolution 8K, mini LED backlight, Dolby Atmos sound 85 watts. There is a subwoofer. A remote control in this TV is a new sample with backlight. No worries, I will also talk in more detail about remote control and its photos at the end when I summarize everything. I will not linger on this TV for a long time, so let's move on. The next one we have is a novelty, which is called Sony A95K. This is an OLED TV, but not a simple OLED. It is based on quantum dots of the same type that Samsung introduced this year. It is made in 5565 diagonal, OLED matrix 120Hz 10-bit, glossy display coating, 4K resolution, HDR brightness. I haven't found the exact figure directly, but I will tell you that this is something around 800 to 850 candela. This is the brightness of the real scene. The brightness of SDR is 350 candela. And OLED backlight. Dolby Atmos sound 60 watts. About sound, number of speakers, subwoofer and so on, I will share it in the plate, and the power consumption is also where I can indicate, I will indicate it for sure. Also, in this TV, remote control has backlight. I would like to note, because it may not be entirely clear just from the pictures, this TV has one large solid leg. It has two positions. Either it is located behind the TV or in front of the TV. Well, there is a logical third option where you will install this TV on the wall. But I would like to highlight one point. This TV has a tilt-back angle, as it was before in the Sony A1 model, if anyone knows. It is also one of the first OLEDs. The situation is basically the same there. Of course, I understand that OLED has excellent viewing angles, but, in my honest opinion, it does not look aesthetically pleasing. Well, another such important point is that this top-end flagship OLED TV from Sony is manufactured in two versions, that is 77 and 83 inches. This year they were not presented, but looking ahead, I will say that next year there is information that there will be a larger diagonal. The next TV is called Sony A90K. It is made in two versions. These are 42 and 48 inches. The matrix here is also OLED, 120Hz 10-bit, semi-glossy display coating, 4K resolution. HDR brightness is not very high. It varies from 550 to 600 candela. Brightness of SDR is 260 candela. Backlight OLED. Dolby Atmos sound 30 watts. Gaming and video features and so on, I will write everything down. And this TV, as I understand it, is intended to be as a monitor. So it has a leg in the center, and if you raise the central leg in order to place a soundbar or keyboard there, it looks, well, as for me, not so good, but this is still Sony's decision. Last year, there was a model called A90J. It was made in larger sizes, but this year they outplayed for a bit and made a flagship different TV on a completely different panel. So, what can I say about it? In a nutshell, it is not as bright as we would like to, and what Sony TVs is famous for, at least they were famous for up to this point, that they practically did not need it to be adjusted. There are people who just come home, put the TV on, they even never look through the settings. Then in this case, after calibration, the picture will look much better. Also, about the ports, last year there were 3 USB ports and now there are only 2. The sound has become worse relative to the A90J model. Well, in principle, a TV, as I say, can hardly be called a TV. It fits perfectly rather as a monitor. The next TV is called Sony A90J. This is a TV that has been transferred to us since 2021 and it will continue to be produced since Sony made an expensive one on the new OLED panel. They made a small OLED, not quite in a large number of diagonals, and something needs to replace 9th series. They need to do something in the middle, so they moved it to 2022. It is made in 3 versions, 55, 65 and 83 inches, 120 Hz OLED matrix, glossy display coating, 4K resolution. HDR is 712 of brightness, SDR is 277 of candela. OLED backlight, Dolby Atmos sound, 60 watts. Of course, there is a subwoofer. Regarding gaming and video, you will find everything. An old-style remote control, so it's kinda a long one with buttons and backlit. Okay, maybe depending on the region, there will be a difference in the remotes. I am simply asking to treat this with understanding because I cannot physically follow and detect all the markets in the world. The next TV is called Sony A80K. It is manufactured in 55, 65 and 77 diagonals. OLED matrix 120 Hz 10-bit, semi-glossy display coating, display resolution 4K, HDR brightness 550 to 600 candela, SDR brightness 300 candela, OLED backlight, Dolby Atmos sound 50 watts. Naturally, there is a subwoofer. This TV is pretty hard to call it a budget one. It's more of a middle ground. The middle class, just like last year was A80J, so this year is A80K. The remote control here is of a new type, but already without backlight. In detail about which remotes and where I will tell you when we finish. Let's consider that, in comparison with last year's TV, in the new 8 series OLED TV, the sound is worse, but the wider color range, especially at 1080 with working VRR. The viewing angles are also better, but in calibration, as practice has shown, they are absolutely identical. That is, there is no such thing that the new one is much worse there, and after calibration it gets better. Nope. The number of USB ports has also decreased, and in principle, there is nothing else like this in terms of global differences. And if I miss something, I will definitely notice it at the end of this video. Sony's processors have not changed this year also. They use the same processor, so nothing changed. That is, see for yourself if specifically the choice fell on this model. Just look at the price here. If you just want something newer, then please, here it is rational. So I don't have personally any specific complaints about this TV. And if they are, again, then I will definitely tell you about it. And we move on. The next one we have is a completely new such segment from Sony. This is the most budgetary OLED, LG's lookalike OLED, which is called A1. Only here Sony calls it A75K TV. It is also made in two versions, 55 and 65 inches. Not quite a big variety, right? OLED matrix 120Hz and 10 bits. Unlike LG, although they made a cheap OLED, they didn't make it 60Hz, but still they put a normal 120Hz panel. Semi-glossy display coating, 4K resolution, OLED backlight, Dolby Atmos sound 40 watts. The remote control is also a new model but without backlight. Although this is an expensive TV, but you see, only the most premium ones get all the best, as it is in principle in any brands. Relative to LG or Samsung, the situation is pretty much the same there. And so we got to LED TVs, to which I had a lot of questions. Let's just get straight to the situation. The first TV is called Sony X95K. This TV is already on mini LED backlight. It is manufactured in three versions, 65, 75 and 85 inches, VA 120Hz matrix, and my favorite 8-bit plus FRC, semi-glossy display coating, 4K resolution. HDR brightness has become relatively higher. The TV we had last year, which was called X95J, so I wrote not quite accurate characteristics, but it's better to write exactly those that are the closest to the truth than nothing at all. So it's 950 to 1100 candela, SDR brightness 782 candela, contrast 1723 to 1. So that you understand, for a flagship LED TV, this is a very, very small figure. The contrast with local dimming is 5195 to 1. Why such a small contrast? I will definitely explain. Mini LED backlight. Here I already painted the backlight zones. You will read it, all of that. 65, 75, 85 are going on the rise. There is a support for such a thing that is applied to the display, so it reduces glare, but as I said a second ago, it just affects the contrast. For sure, you can put this TV in a sunny room and the glare will be absorbed by the film, but the contrast suffers. On the one hand, this is cool, but on the other, if you don't have a sunny side of your house, then why do you actually need it? Because of which you have to suffer, just because Sony decided to do such a thing. Because last year there was no loss of contrast, although the film was. There is a PWM flicker in this TV, and it flickers at a frequency of 720 Hz, and this must be taken into account while choosing your TV. The remote is brand new with a backlight, as no surprise, this is a flagship LED TV this year and it should have all the best. What I noticed in comparison with last year's TV, which is called X95J, new, already on mini LED backlight, although the 21st year model was direct LED with local dimming, but there is one big problem with this TV, which is simply not comparable to its cost, that on HDR content I see halos and highlights. Is this even normal? It seems to me that if a TV costs like $3,000 or $4,000, and that's exactly what it costs, it shouldn't have such a problem at all, or make its cost much lower, because, well, so far this is not a justified high price. Of course, I understand that it was released relatively recently and the price will drop and it will decrease according to the trend, but it's expensive. After all, costs almost like an OLED, and this is a completely different level. What I also have noticed is that SDR brightness is better on 2022 model. Local dimming works better on 2021 model. TV called X95J calibration out of the box is also better on model of 21st, but after calibration they become pretty much the same. Color gamut and volume is also better on a 2022 TV. Again, USB ports were cut here. There were 3, now there are 2. And one more important thing is what people noticed last year and this year as well. When watching hockey, football, or other solid color, you can see grid screen on your backlight. The most surprising thing is that LG has mini LEDs, but I didn't see anything like that there. And this year they haven't changed anything in this regard. This is also visible. Another flaw is that there is a TV on which this is more observative and there are those on which it is barely visible. And again, when buying, it is necessary to check everything. Not to say that this is a direct defect, no, but this is unacceptable and there is a certain measure. The TV, to generalize, is too expensive for no reason and has a number of its disadvantages. Yes, it has increased in brightness, but at the same time, contrast has decreased due to the coating that eliminates glare, so you can certainly spend a lot of money on this TV if you can afford it, but I was personally disappointed with this piece. Our next TV is called Sony X90K, the older brother of Sony X90J, which was last year. There are different marking variations like 90K, 93K, 94K. It is made in 55, 65 and 75 and also 85 diagonals. So, the matrix here is VA 120Hz, 8-bit plus FRC, semi-glossy coating, 4K resolution, HDR brightness 755 candela, SDR brightness 579 candela, contrast 4800 to 1, contrast with local dimming 6400 to 1, direct LED backlight with local dimming. Also, this backlight is divided into zones. Compared to the TV of 21st, the number of these same zones has significantly increased here. The sound is Dolby Atmos 30 watts. I will write gaming and video features. Also, this TV has PWM flicker and a new type remote control, but without backlight. Again, briefly about what else I have noticed. The new TV, since Sony finally, years later, made VRR support out of the box in their TVs. Regarding the contrast, the 21st model was better. There was a figure of 5600 and in this, on a non-local dimming, is 4800. TV. Local dimming works worth on 2022 TV. It works worth on one side, but works better if you lower the TV's brightness. Cool, right? That is, how does it work? It turns out that I buy a TV for a lot of money because of its brightness, but when viewing it, I will have to lower it because I will see flashes. So tell me, is this even logical or not? I don't think so. Here I am inclined to the same opinion. How it works is unclear. Well, you added brightness, but make sure that there are no highlights. Well, how is this even put it into your head when a TV a year older shows better than a TV that came out just recently? How does it function? Out of the box, the 21st model shows better results than the 22nd model. Again, after calibration, it all levels out. My question here, have Sony forgotten how to produce or became lazy or another maybe reason? How can I put it correctly? Maybe they forgot how to calibrate and adjust TVs so that the client doesn't have to stress so much with new purchase. Why was it done before? You just take the TV out of the box and watch straight away, and now you have to calibrate it, tune it, do some type of rituals and dance around it. It's not clear. I have another disappointment, honestly, regarding Sony TVs, not all, but for most of this year. The color scheme and volume in this TV, yes, they tried. Well done compared to last year. They did well. There is a small correction. This TV can also be produced and called X94S, not K at the end, but S. This TV will have a new type of remote control with backlight, but X90, X93, X94K. There is a new remote control, but without backlight. This is for your knowledge. Well, all in all, we discussed the most popular, best-selling TV of 22-21. I think you basically understood me and my position, but I will outline such a generalized picture at the end. The next TV is exactly the same that we talked about 10 seconds ago, but it's called differently. It's called Sony X92K. It is made in 55, 65, 75 diagonal, but it has a leg in the center. This is its only difference. Yeah, Sony is certainly not LG. They did not make 28 models, but anyway, as for me, there are a lot of unnecessary models. At least 5 of them I would remove from the list because they are simply useless. Why that so? See further. That is, I see no reason to read out the same characteristics to you here because it is absolutely the same as its X90 brother. Our next model is called Sony X90K/P. Here in general they messed everything up. I did not understand why all of this is needed. This model is the same as X90J TV from 2021. Why was this done? Well, it's not clear. It's true, it's not clear to me. Here we have 3 options, 55, 65, 75 inches. VA 120Hz matrix, 8-bit plus FRC, semi-gloss 4K resolution, HDR brightness 784 candela, SDR brightness 519 candela, contrast 5600. Direct LED backlight with local dimming, and the number of zones is respectively the same as this was in the previous year model. Dolby Atmos sound 20 watts. PWM flicker is present here, so this is basically how they decided to do it. But why call it something else? Gosh, just leave the name in X90J. That's it. Another TV and another unclear origin is Sony X90S, or it can also be called as X94S. What I talked about in X94S is a new type of remote with backlight, and X90S is a new type of remote but without backlight. This TV model is generally made in only one version, 50 inches. I don't understand why, but make you X90, which will be produced not only in 55, 65 and so on, make you also 50 inches there, as it was last year. Why making a separate model for this? The question is simply on the agenda of a day. The resolution here is also 4K. The backlight is direct LED with local dimming. The sound, it looks like they removed the subwoofer from here. Dolby Atmos and PWM flicker is present. It hasn't gone anywhere. But why would you do it? I don't know. You have to ask Sony directly. But that's not all. The next model is called the same. It is also made in 50 inches, and here the situation is a little different. If the last TV is purely of 2022, then this model is also available in one size, but this is supposedly X90J TV from 21st year. Why would you make two different models in one 50-inch version and call them by different names? Can you answer it? If you answer, I will be very grateful, and if Sony or someone from out there knows why this is done this way, tell me, please share, because apparently I don't understand something in this world. Direct LED lighting with local dimming, Dolby Atmos sound, 20 watts, no subwoofers, while everything as it were a TV, which is purely designed as a monitor and gaming option. Somehow I don't really want it, frankly speaking. The next TV we have is called Sony X85 or X89K. Well, what can I say? This is already going down a little. This TV is manufactured from 43 to 85 diagonals. The matrix is still 120 Hz, 8-bit plus FRC, semi-gloss 4K resolution, HDR brightness 410 candela, SDR brightness 489 candela. I did not mess up anything here, everything is correct. The contrast is 5400 to 1, direct LED backlight, but a big emphasis on but, without local dimming. Respectively, there are no zones that we turn on, turn off separately, it's just direct LED. What does it affect? It affects the black level, and perhaps this is the most basic and the most global. Dolby Atmos sound, 20 watts, no subwoofers, you will read about its features later, and the most important moment that takes place is PWM flicker. It is not here on this TV. This is a cool, nice TV for its money, 120 Hz, and which has no PWM flicker. In our time, it is very difficult to find one like this. Last year's model had a similar situation. It was also in demand because it does not have PWM flicker. There are differences. The X89 model and the X85 model. I don't read to you all these hertz which each company separately calculates. This is all nonsense. But the difference is one global is that model 89 has a microphone in the TV and in the remote control, and in the X85 model there are no microphones in the TV. That is, you can call the voice assistant in the X89 model without using the remote. Yep. The next model is called Sony X82K. It is made in 5 variants from 43 to 75 diagonals, and here we already have a significant deterioration. The matrix is not VA, the ADS matrix is the same IPS, 60 Hz, 8-bit plus FRC. In short, the whole complete set of a bad TV. 50 diagonal uses a semi-gloss VA matrix, 4K resolution, HDR brightness is simply no good, 370 candela, SDR brightness 340 candela, contrast, attention here, contrast 870 to 1. This is 2022, I remind you, and this is not the cheapest Sony TV because this TV will cost just below $1,000. if it's not an official TV. If it's official, then it will be more expensive. Well, you understand. 870. Like, gosh, Sonny, good evening. Wake up. How are you there? Are you feeling okay? Please let me know. Direct LED backlight so that you understand the sadness of the situation. I will provide you with photos and show you how direct light works on the ADS matrix at night, because when people buy it only relying on the budget and do not look at the characteristics, and then they come home, they turn it in a bedroom or just in the dark time, their TV, which they have been waiting for so long, and it turns out that it's just horrible. Well, I'd better keep you informed and tell you how it really is. Dolby Atmos sound, 20 watts. In terms of gaming capabilities, we already have some changes here. VRR support is gone from there because the TV is no longer 120 Hz but 60 Hz. So there is only ALMM support. There is also no PWM flicker in this TV, which is good news. The remote control of the new model is also without backlight. Bad. Very bad. Why? Because it's terrible. I don't recommend it at all. But starting from this X82 model and below, I cannot advise you to buy anything. Not only are the prices in comparison with competitors of the same LG, Samsung, at Sony the most uplifted, they're the highest, but still not good in any aspect. I just have no words to describe it fully. And there are some photos for confirmation, which I will show you. It will be enough. Our next TV is called Sony X80 or X81K. The difference from the previous one, which we just talked about, is that model 82 has a leg in the center and 81 with legs on the sides. It is made from 43 to 85 diagonals, ADS matrix 60 Hz 8-bit plus FRC, 50 diagonal matrix VA semi-gloss, resolution 4K, brightness HDR 370 candela, brightness of SDR 340 candela. The contrast is just as said, that is, the characteristics here are the same as those of the model that I read to you a moment ago. If you didn't have time or suddenly didn't see it, you can read it again. Grandparents actually might be very happy and satisfied with such a picture, but in fact, I don't advise you to buy this TV if you are going to watch high quality content. I'm already silent about HDR and in general about what brightness is here and what you will see after. It is clear that if there is no cooler and more expensive TV nearby, you will not understand what the difference is, but believe me, this is bad. It's really bad. And if you don't trust me, just go to the store and look closely at this TV. There is also a difference from markings. I will write all this down so as not to read it out for a long time. Our next TV is already very budgetary. It is called Sony X74, or it can also be called as X75K. It is manufactured in 4 versions: 43, 50, 55, 65 inches, ADS matrix, 60 Hz, 8-bit plus FRC. VA matrix is also used in 50 diagonal, semi-glossy display coating, resolution 4K, direct backlight. Dolby audio sound is no longer Dolby Atmos, far from it, but Dolby audio. That is, we have a decrease in full bloom, so to speak. 20 watts. Everything is bad in terms of gaming performance, and in general everything is bad here. I will not linger on these TVs for a while because I have no desire at all. And another Sony X72 and X73K model is made in two versions, 43, 50 inches, ADS matrix 60 Hz 8-bit plus FRC. VA matrix is also used in 50 diagonal. Why it was necessary to make this model with two diagonals? I have no idea, like honestly, none. Your help here is needed. And other important difference is that in the X72, X73 model, the amount of internal memory is 8 GB. I repeat again, Sony, it's 2022. 8 GB on a TV for a whole bunch of money for such a budget. Hi, hello. Do you even hear me or anyone else? How are you? And with models 74 and 75, there will be already 16 gigabytes, but far from 16 is available. That's what it's all about. We have already come to the end of these beautiful, lovely TVs, and I want to express a couple of my thoughts and what I have not mentioned yet. Sonny, in general, I have a question to you. So I looked at the line of this year and I have a strong desire to ask, but do you generally know how to come up with something new in terms of design, except how to paint the back cover, make it all in a square, or is it like does it affect heat dissipation or does the sound somehow changes on the TV? So they don't change anything at all. That is, before I was even glad I said that Sony is still doing great, relatively good things. Well, they are not losing ground the way Samsung or LG do, but I see now that everything is already possible and Sony has already gone the same weird tracks as Samsung with LG. That's pity. The backlit remote control we have in the Z9K models is 8K mini LED, OLED, new A95K, OLED A90K, and X95K on mini LED backlight. All other TVs will have the same remote control but without backlight. It will be black plastic, but this one, which with black light, it will be made under aluminum. This time I hope you remember. Also, thank God Sony, which produces Sony PlayStation consoles, thought of making a full-fledged port of GMA 2.0 in 2022. Finally, I don't understand this at all. Well, guys, you make game consoles that you want to make money from, right? Why then do you release a set-top box and a TV that will work normally with this set-top box only after a year? Is it really just a gesture of such goodwill? They say like, let Samsung work with LG and then we will join, or how it happened? Only this year, HDMI 2.1 ports have full support for VRR, but it's not as cool as we would like to. The same LG TVs have 4 HDMI 2.1 ports, but do you know how many of those ports are on Sony TVs? 2! As if you don't have enough of space there, or do you need port 2.0 for some purpose? It's not clear. Tell me, maybe I will learn something new. Well, in general, according to the new line, I have only negative emotions, except maybe for one. This is the new A95K TV. This is OLED. Look, I have not seen such a clear color reproduction, such a volume. I have also seen Samsung's new OLED on quantum dots, but the new OLED from Sony is simply indescribable. If you compare it with the A90J model, the top one, the A90J of last year, the difference is extra visible. The question is, Is it worth overpaying because the price tag for the new OLED is not very small? Another minus is that there is no diagonal greater than 65, and another flaw is that their new processors were not delivered. That is, we get the same thing as last year, but in my opinion, this is at least unworthy to buy it in this year. Yes, the thing is kinda cool, but I cannot see a global jump. Although I expected something from Sony, but apparently it's not fated to be, because they have already rolled down, as it were, very low. Of the entire line of TVs, I will praise only one. This is the Sony LED A95K. All the rest are either the same as last year or have become even worse. I will make a review, select the top of best TVs and tell you in more detail there. Two more additional points. There is a new feature in Sony. It is in models ranging from X90K to the flagship Z9K itself. What does it allow you to do? So if you want to connect a soundbar, you can use the TV speakers in combination with soundbar, although in principle 20 watts of its own sound in some Sony TVs will not save the situation much. The last thing I will pay attention to is the appearance of a camera in Sony TVs. What it does. The camera recognizes when you are no longer sitting in front of the TV. For example, you're gone. It lowers the brightness of the display to save the energy. Again, this feature is compatible from the 80K model. The camera itself comes with only two TVs. This is A95K, this is a top new OLED, and 8K Z9K. In all the rest, this option is available, but the camera is not included in the kit. Anyway, that's it. Hope you enjoyed this long ride. Please like, comment, share any of your thoughts, send this video to those who might find it helpful, and simply support us if you want to see more similar videos. And have a great one!